It's time for another Dice Tower review with Barry.
Hello Chubbits, Barry here. Guess what? I was rooting around my attic the other day because I'm starting to unpack things here in France. And I found this! And this! Cool! And I found this! Yes, it's a comic book that I wrote when I was about 15, 16 years old. And it's spaceships and stuff like that because I kind of liked spaceships and stuff when I was 15, 16 year old. And I like comic books because reading a book was so much hard work. I'd either read a book when I went to bed and it would send me to sleep and I'd forget where I was and then I'd forget what had happened just before, so I'd have to reread. Whereas with a comic book, not a problem. I could just fall asleep at the end of a page and I'd remember where I was. Same with on the toilet. I read a book on the toilet and I lose myself entirely and then I have to stay probably a bit longer just to get to the end of the chapter. Whereas in a comic book, that doesn't happen. But nowadays I kind of like read more instruction manuals on how to play games while I'm on the toilet and in bed. That's a problem for the wife. But anyway, I want to talk about this game. Comics. It's a game where you're actually making a comic. And then you're telling a story and then you're scoring points. Don't switch off. I know it's a storytelling game, but don't switch off. This one has some nice little mechanics.
The world is under attack.
At the beginning of the game, each player will choose a colour. And as you can see, there are 10 colours, which means this game goes up to 10 players. The game plays a little differently if there are 6 or more players because you play in teams of 2 instead of on your own. These tokens, as you can see, mark what colour you are, so you leave that in front of you. You have these voting tokens, which you will use to vote on the stories, and then you have your scoring token, which will go on the score track. Each player or team will get one of these sheets, which will have a 6 panel on one side and a 9 panel on the other side. They put this in front of them. They put their scoring tokens on the 0. You place these slow tokens in the middle, you place the sound timer in the middle, and then there's this big deck of cards here which are all double-sided and have this artwork on them, and you deal 12 of these out to each player or team. The manual recommends that you play for 3 rounds, so you tell 3 stories. But you can change this if you wish. You can play less or more depending on your group. Okay, you also decide beforehand whether you're going to use the 6 panel or the 9 panel. I would recommend using the 6 panel every time. It just makes for a lighter, funner experience. And then what will happen is you will have to decide a title on a story. Now you have to decide on a title together because you're all going to write a story with the same title. The instruction manual comes with a list of titles like My Greatest Fear or Catastrophe or The Fellowship. But as I said, you can use any that you wish. You can make one up or use an existing title of a book, and then you shout 3, 2, 1, go, and then you start looking through your 12 cards and you look for images which you think are going to make a good story which will relate to this title. So like so, I'm just doing this quickly. I'm not going to do anything here. I'm just going to do that. Okay. The first player to fill in all their tiles on their panel, they take the sound timer, they turn it over in front of them, and then all the other players have 90 seconds to finish their stories. Any player that has not finished their story will take one of these slow tokens. And if you have any empty panels when the sound timer runs out, you just have to put any card random from your hand into that empty space or spaces. The rest of your cards you discard back into the deck and you shuffle them ready for the next round, and then the storytelling commences. The player who grabbed the sound timer will be the first person to tell their story, and they'll basically turn their comic strip round for everyone to see, and then they'll start telling their story, pointing at the pictures. So they would say from top left, to the bottom right. So, one fine morning, this Madame Doublet opened her window and started cooking dinner. She was a prim and proper woman who was married to a prim and proper president. On one particular morning, she kissed him goodbye, but little did she know he was running away to go and date another woman and shoot her afterwards. There you go. I just made that up because I just randomly threw these cards in. Once everyone has told their stories, that's when the scoring commences, and this is where the game becomes interesting. Okay, because your scoring is going to work like this. Now here's where the magic of the game kicks in with its reviewing scoring system. Each player will have these 5 tokens which they'll be using to assess each story, review each story that has been told. Now it'll change depending on the number of players. If there were 3 players, so there'd be 3 stories, you'd give out 2 tokens to each your opponent and keep 1 for yourself. And then again, in a 5-player game, you'd give out all 5. What these tokens do, you have these 2 blanks, which are just nothing. They are nothing. They're no points, they're nothing. They're just But you have this one with a heart. Now, the one with a heart means it's the most exciting story. You will give that to the story which is the most interesting, which is giving you a lot of emotion. Maybe it was funny, maybe it was really scary or moving. Then you have this one here, the best composed story. If the story seemed to flow really well and just have a natural vibe and then nothing was like, there was no juxtaposition of anything, then you'd give that story that token. And then you have this token here, which is the most original story. And that would be something which is just really creative and fun. Then the scoring will commence once all tokens have been given out. This is an example of a 4-player game. Once all players are given their tokens in, you reveal them, like so. And the first thing you need to do is you need to remove all the blank votes. So like this one here, you remove it from the game. Well, this player here has 3, so they're removed from the game. Then you look for the majority in each category. Now you have your 3 categories. You have your most original. So in this case, this one has 2, this one has 2. It's equality, so they both get to keep them. Then you have the most exciting, which is the heart. There's 2 there, there's 1 there, so that goes, and 1 there, that goes. And then there's the best composed story. This one has 3, so that one goes in the bin. Then players will gain a point for each token which rests with their story. So this player here will get 3 points, this player here will get 2 points, and this player here gets 4, and this one gets nothing. Then each player will get 2 points for each of their tokens which are still in the game. So for example, the pink player will get 2 for 6 points, the red player would get 2 for 6 points on top, the yellow player will get 4 points on top, and then the green player would get 2 points. And then the game continues. You dish out another 12 cards, you choose a title, you do your stories, you do your reviewing, you score your points. At the end of the game, the person with the most points is the winner. If there's equality between the 2 players, you count up how many slow tokens each player has, and the person with the least slow tokens is the winner. And if it's a joint with the slow tokens, then you have a joint winner. Yeah. Comics is a board game that every aspiring Stan Lee should possibly pick up and try, okay? The problem with the game is, as it says in its first line, this is a storytelling game like no other. Storytelling game. How many of you have switched off this video already? Come on, come on, come on, tell me, tell me. Yes, people would say, oh, that looks nice, and it's a storytelling game, let's go play Agricola. And that's the problem. But the thing is, its saving grace is this wonderful scoring system. You don't have to be the best storyteller to win this game. As long as you are honest with your reviews, you can still win. As case proven for me, I have never won this game, and I consider myself quite a good little storyteller. But anyway, let's talk about the pieces. The pieces are nice. The cards are a bit sharp. They could be rounded corners, I feel. The art for the cards is okay. If it was any better, unfortunately, I think it would not be so generic. You wouldn't be able to use them so much. Tokens could be bigger, especially, you know, the one that tells you what colour you are. The scoreboard, I hate scoreboards in boxes. They are annoying and they move and they get jutted. But apart from that, everything seems to be quite nice. Now, I haven't played this game as a group because the group rules seem a bit strange. It says that like one player reads the first 3 panels, the other player reads the second 3 panels, and then there's this whole scoring problem. You're each getting different scores. I can't see it working, so I'm not going to try it. I'm not going to push for it. If it happens, it happens. But overall, the game is like family-friendly kind of fun. It plays relatively quick, and if you like storytelling, and even if you don't like storytelling, you might as well check it out. You never know.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.